everyone and welcome back to my channel. Happy Tuesday. Today is the day that we upload the video about the stuff that has been ongoing on the forums. This is the part 2 video that I was referring to in the last video. The card should now be available on that video for this one, and I'll also put a card here for the previous video in case you don't know which one I'm talking about. I'll be covering some news on that, and then the news on this one will be mostly, well, not mostly, all forum related because Jeff has been quite active on the forums lately. So we're gonna start off with the ping system, which to me is the greatest part that I really wanted to cover. I was super excited about this. So the ping system, there was somebody in the forums that actually said something about that. Okay, so here we've got a post from someone called Shivan Dragon, and they posted, I find myself using group up with me when I actually wanted to say retreat. I think there should be a voice line for that. When you see that a fight is lost and there is nothing to do other than flee and regroup next the spawn. And this is called a voice line request retreat. And what Jeff Kaplan replied to that was, we're working on a cool update that will address this feedback. More info in the next dev update. Sorry, no ETA because world, which makes a lot of sense. So the really cool thing about this, right, and I've been wanting to talk about this for ages as well, and I'm sure a lot of us have been dying to get a new ping system because it's very basic and it was fine at the beginning when we didn't really know how the game worked, but now that we have all evolved into better players all across ranks, it's the kind of thing that obviously as time goes on everyone will start having better knowledge. It's just how it is. This game has been out for years now, so even the bronzers that have been playing in bronze for years, they still have way better game sense than even a gold player when the game first came out. And that's just how it's gotten to be. So obviously as our knowledge has grown, we're gonna need a slightly better ping system. So I've seen a lot of comments on different things advising on like what would be a good ping system. What I came up with myself, I found this a really good idea. We should probably have a ping system, you know, different for each role. I think the only one that should be in common with all roles should be an enemy ping system. So in case somebody is trying to flank, you can ping the enemy. People will know where the enemy is. And the character will say something like, there's a Reaper on the right, you know, like, or something like that. And for the different roles, then I think, for example, starting with tank, there should be a voice line saying, stay behind me. Because, for example, with off tanks, slightly less relevant, but can still be relevant if they're maybe the only tank there. Say the main tank is dead and they're respawning, then the off tank is currently holding the front line. So you're gonna want to tell people to stay behind you. But really, mostly for the main tanks that have shields and such, you're gonna want your team to stay behind you. And the amount of people, my God, when I play tank, the amount of people that do not know how to stay behind a shield is insane. And it's not even to do with the fact that I don't know how to push, because that's the whole problem. And that's what brings me up to the next ping, which I think for tanks should be pinging in where it is that you want to go. So you have that a lot in Apex, for example, as well, in Apex Legends, where you can ping wherever it is you're aiming, and it's gonna ping on the map and it's gonna say, you know, let's go this way. And I really feel that we could use something like that in Overwatch when it comes to the tanks, because say you're a Reinhardt and you're trying to push, you're trying to make the space, but you have to go forward to do that, but the rest of your team is too afraid to press W, and you're a tank player whose microphone isn't working, for example. You want to communicate to them that you want to push forward up to a certain point, or maybe you want to go to the left, you want to, you know, rotate to the left or rotate to the right. If you can just ping that on the map, then the Reinhardt, for example, is going to be like, follow me, let's go this way, you know, something like that, where the team knows, okay, my tank is going in this direction, I should probably follow my tank, you know? Because I've seen some people say, oh, I just want to follow me button, which yes, all great and good, but if it's just follow me, maybe the people don't really know where you are. Maybe they don't have very good game awareness. They're gonna look around being like, where the hell are you? And then they're gonna die in the process. But if you ping where you want to go and it's set on their HUD where they can literally turn around, you know, when you get shot, you've got the red telling you which direction it is, you know? It's kind of the same thing. And you can see that in this Apex Legends gameplay. You get the arrow telling you where to look to find where the ping is. So I think that would be even better, because the amount of people that have so little awareness of where everyone is, at least if the main tank is pinging where we're supposed to go, then people will actually know where to turn around and actually walk, which you would be surprised as to how helpful that would be in a game, mostly in lower elos. For support, I think it would be really good to have another 2 support specific lines. One being something like, I can't see you, or I can't heal you, get in my line of sight, you know, something along those lines, just so that whoever it is you're pinging it to, they know that they can't be seen or can't be healed by the healer because they're like behind a wall or maybe way out of position. And if the healer wants to heal them, at least they can say that, because the amount of people that say, you know, they press the I need healing button and then they go hide behind a wall, and that's because they're not looking around the map and they're not seeing where their healers are, and they don't have that in mind, and then they just expect the healer to magically heal them behind walls, but it's not gonna happen. So I think that would be really useful, because if someone's just spamming the I need healing button, that person could just ping directly at whoever is spamming the I need healing button and just say, you're not in my line of sight, you know, like I can't heal you, something like that. And then the second line, I think would be really useful, because of course one of the main things in Overwatch is to prioritize the healers. So if the healers had something like enemies on me, or say they're getting attacked by Winston, you know, the character's gonna be like, help, Winston is on me, you know, something like that along those lines, so that, you know, the support can call out for help. Even if they don't have a mic, they can still call out for help. And I think it would be even more useful. I think with a good ping system, we will not even really need to use a mic that much, because you can actually hear which direction these things are coming from. You actually can turn around, you know exactly where it's coming from. And then the mic will just be used for whoever wants to do callouts, like, let's focus this person, please, let's focus that person. There's going to be a lot less talking. That's what I really love about Apex Legends when I play that game. There's no talking, but there's still really good teamwork if you have a good team. But you still can manage to work together and do everything together. You can tell someone you need a certain type of ammo. You can tell someone you need a certain optics range. You need an extension mag, that you need like health. You've got so many things you can communicate just by pinging whatever it is you're clicking on. Of course, it's a different type of game, so the communication is not going to need to be that extended in Overwatch. But if a complicated game like Apex Legends can do it, where you've got technically a lot more to communicate than something like Overwatch, which is just focus this, focus that, walk here, walk there, retreat, I think then Overwatch can do it too. You know? And then lastly, for the DPS, I don't really think DPS need to communicate too much, because, you know, they're just doing their own thing. They just got to focus getting those critical hits or getting those frags if they can. And I think really what is the most important for DPS, now do correct me if I'm wrong, maybe if you think of another one that would be useful for DPS, do let me know. But I think a really good one would be very similar to the tank one, which is something to do with, I'm gonna go this way. Say maybe the McCree wants to flank, he wants to do a high noon, but he's not going to communicate it if he can't ping it. But then if he's going to go flank, he can just ping wherever he's going. And then, you know, the character will just be like, I'm going to go this way, you know, and everyone's going to know, okay, our McCree is going to flank from that side. And then the supports automatically are going to keep an eye on that side. And if they see that McCree might need support, they will actually, at least one of them will actually go try to support the McCree. If not, actually follow them in their flank initially, just knowing that they're headed out for their their flank. So it's just the kind of thing that I think would be really useful for DPS, because I've noticed that a lot of the issues with DPS is really their positioning. They don't know where to stand, or if they're going off on a flank, then they blame the teammates for not supporting them, but that's because they just never told them they were gonna go on the flank. So I think that would really help with the overall communication. And then, as I said before, just a general new ping for everyone across roles. Just ping where the enemy is. Say that you see a Reaper teleporting, they know that they're gonna be flanking somewhere, then, you know, like if you can ping the general direction that they're gonna be flanking from, then everyone can just turn around and be like, right, you know, like someone's gonna be flanking from behind us. They're gonna see the Reaper, everyone can focus the Reaper, you know? So I think that would be really useful. That's me anyway on the ping system. I really had a lot to say on that because I really have been dying for a new ping system for many, many years now. Then Apex Legends came out and I was like, look at this beautiful ping wheel. Why can't Overwatch do it? and you know, they even made it even better, where at first you had to use the wheel to say that enemies had gone a certain way and whatever, but now you just have to ping the open door and it already says, oh, the enemy was here. So they've actually improved the ping wheel since Apex Legends came out in the first place. So if EA can do it with Apex Legends, I'm sure Blizzard can as well with Overwatch. So the next thing here is another one that's pretty exciting. So this one was called Experimental Card for Bastion, and this guy named Dr. Clan, he said, is there any chance some Bastion changes could be tested on the experimental card? He's by far the worst here in the game and could certainly use some help. Normal buffs may not be enough. So this seems like the exact thing the experimental card is for, which I kind of agree and I disagree. I think Bastion is just not needed in general. I mean, he's just an overpowered character if you know how to set up with him, and he's a completely disastrous character if you don't know how to set up with him, and he's easily countered. So it's a character that's pretty much useless unless it's supported by good positioning and teammates that know how to set up a bunker and how to rotate. And it's just, there's so much more that other characters can do that you just would never use him. And then on the opposite side of the scale, there's lower elos, which, like, Bastion recently has been, I think he's probably, if he's not gonna get banned next week, I don't know what's gonna happen, because every game I've played there's been a fucking Bastion, and it's been really frustrating because if you're like the only one going out there trying to counter him, like I have to literally switch from Reinhardt to a Roadhog because I tell the Roadhog, hey, go take care of that Bastion, displace him, you know, like we'll all focus him, but then the Roadhog can't hook him. Doesn't know how to flank him, doesn't know how to go around to hook him. So then I have to switch from my main tank, which is my comfort zone, and I have to go and pick a Roadhog to make sure I can go get rid of that Bastion and kill him. But then by the time I've done that, everyone else has died. And then I'm like, what am I supposed to do here? Just lower elos do not know how to deal with the Bastion. They don't know that 3 Pharah rockets can kill it. They don't know that 3 Hanzo arrows can kill it. They don't know that a Sombra can hack it out of turret mode. They don't know so much stuff. It's really irritating. So Bastion definitely, I think it does need a rework to try and appease either the higher or the lower end of the scale. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I think that's probably why they're not really looking at him, just because he's not really a priority. And this is actually what Jeff Kaplan had to say on that. He said that the next experimental card changes are targeted at CC reduction. Thank God, across multiple heroes. We're not currently working on Bastion changes, but are happy to listen to any feedback you have. So I think that is a glorious thing to know, because CC has been hell on earth for a lot of us. We all know that when you're playing, say, a main tank or even just any character, but mostly a main tank, because as a job with your main tank, you're supposed to be able to go around and make space. But if you get frozen by a Mei and then slept by an Anna and then you get booped by a Lucio and then booped again by a Ball and then booped again by a Doomfist, and in the meantime, say the Anna already has her sleep bag, she's gonna sleep you again, you know, and in the meantime all of that damage eventually it consumes you and you die. And it's all because, oh yeah, and there's the stun with the McCree, excuse me, sorry. You know, there's just so much CC in the game that, like, I'm not opposed to CC. CC is fine, but it just shouldn't be that imposing. Like, it shouldn't stack the way it does, really. And it's just too much. It's too much. I know that they've already tried to address it with recent changes with the stacking on CC and stuff, but that's still not really the same. It still happened. People are just waiting instead of doing it while you're already stunned. They just wait for you to get out of your stun, and then they like stun you again. So there's not really too much of a difference there, really. I think it's something that definitely does need looking at, and I'm very, very happy that that's the next thing that they want to look at on the experimental card. I think that's a huge step in the right direction. Another thing as well was that someone was saying here, Blizzard, please keep classic comp, is what they said. That was the title. And what they're saying here, the name is Xflow, and they said, finally, I have a reason to play competitive again. Finally, no more waiting 20 minutes to find a game, and no more relying on random teammates. I can play flexibly in less than 2 minutes of queue. I've seen a lot of people not liking it already, but please just keep it. I'm having 100 times more fun there. If a lot of people want role queue, fine, but at least keep classic comp somewhere in arcade or something for us old timers to have fun. I mean, hey, 4 DPS sometimes isn't that bad. I myself would disagree with that, but I can understand that if you have a good enough mechanics to be able to deal with a 4 DPS, then maybe it's not that bad for you. Your positioning is better, your mechanics is better, you're gonna get more kills, and so the fact that you don't have the right support you're meant to have there might not affect you. So that's something that it's not for everyone, and it is for some people. So they definitely do have a point. And what Jeff Kaplan mentioned here is very interesting. So he said, glad you're enjoying it. We're discussing the future of the mode right now. It's interesting to see what regions and platforms are responding to different modes in the game. I know you all enjoy stats, so have fun theory crafting with this chart. Keep in mind, this is just the data from one day. And this is really, really interesting because we have got a really good chart that goes into a lot of detail. We can see between NA and EU PC, ranked is obviously the most popular, and then there would be quick play role queue. And then the third one, there's already a big difference. So you can see that EU is actually a lot more focused on competitive than the NA is, because we've got ranked, which is 34% for EU, and NA is 35%. So there's just that 1% difference where the NA is more. But then we go to quick play, we see that there is a 10.3% is arcade ranked open queue, and then in NA that's actually only 5.9%. And actually arcade mystery and quick play classic are higher than the ranked open queue. While in the EU it looks like they're kind of the same as the role queue ones, where the ranked is the most used and the next one down would be quick play. The way I see it, I don't know if most people are using it the way I do. I use quick play to practice my ranked. So to me, it makes sense that the next second thing that I would use would be quick play. Or I use quick play to pass the time, but because I really want to play ranked, but I don't want to ruin my rank, so I play quick play. And from what I understand, there's a lot of people that do the same in the EU. So that would make sense here. And then for Korea, then of course, we've got a completely different set of things. They've got the top two would be ranked, both of them, one the role queue and one without role queue. And of course, we all know Korea is very competitive, so it makes a lot of sense. And then the next two down also makes quite a lot of sense. It would be the role queue and the classic quick play, both of them. Then if we switch over to console, we're not really going to be looking at the Nintendo Switch, which is NX. That's kind of a relatively new platform. Even Jeff was saying it, that the reason that quick play is so high right now is because most of the accounts are new, and so they have to be leveled up, and so most of the play time goes to there. So we're just kind of going to take that out because it's not really a control. It's more kind of an anomaly right now because it's a new one. But when it comes to PlayStation and Xbox, then we've got again similar things. We've got PlayStation and Xbox. Both the top ones would be ranked role queue. The second one would be quick play role queue. Third would be arcade, the ranked open queue, and then and there's the only difference there. PlayStation prefers Quick Play Classic next, and then Arcade No Limits, and then it's the opposite on Xbox. Why, we don't really know. But it's really interesting to see this, and then we can see what they all have in common would be nobody really likes the arcade elimination at all. And to be fair, I mean, I'm the same. I've never really liked it that much. I've had a lot of people invite me, let's do 3v3, but I'm just like, no, the games are too short, and a lot of the time it doesn't really match you up against people that are around your same skill level, so you end up getting crushed quite a lot. And a lot of other times as well, when somebody invites you to play there, it's just because they want to feel really good about themselves. They know that they're really good and they're gonna crush you to tiny little bits, and that's why they're inviting you to do the 3v3 or whatever. So it makes a lot of sense that it's the least used in there, like, ever. You can see NA and Korea have the exact same percentage there as well. So it makes a lot of sense to me. But it's really interesting to see these stats. I wish they could give us more, and hopefully they will eventually in the future. Who knows? And last but not least, we've got 2CP discussions, which is great. So we've got a user here who is called EndTime00, and the title is, can all 2CP maps and the game mode be reworked? And they're saying, I'm sure we can all agree that we hate 2CP, considering Horizon Lunar Colony and Paris are reworked due to the hate for those maps. The maps in 2CP and the game mode should be reworked as well. And the answer that they got for that was, we discuss 2CP all the time. It's one of the top discussions we have in the design group. We've spent more time trying to address that game mode and trying changes than any other mode. We've also reworked the maps the most. The mode has some fundamental flaws depending on the context you're coming from, professional play versus comp versus quick play. Contrary to what some communities would have you believe, not everyone dislikes the game modes or the maps, which I agree with. I never really minded Paris or Horizon Lunar. I think it's a matter of how you view it and whether you know how to approach that high ground that everyone stands on. Yes, at the beginning I hated the map, but that's because I didn't really know it. But after that, I mean, you just have to just go over to the right and you can just approach them from there. If you split your team as well, that's also something that can work. If you've got a flanker on one side to get them from the back, and then if you rotate over behind the truck, that can also work as well. So there's quite a few ways of doing that. I don't think that it's the end of the world, really. I didn't mind either maps. I never thought there was anything wrong with Horizon Lunar Colony in the first place, like the very first time that the map came out. In fact, I actually disagreed with the changes they did after. I really did like that bottom entrance that you could get to the ground floor, you know, where you have Winston's room and Hammond's room. You could actually access that from the ground, just below the stairs. And they closed that entrance. And I found that really irritating because that was really useful for when you needed to sneak in. If you could get past in there, and that's why Sombra used to be so useful in that map. You could just cloak yourself in, sneak in there, you could hack the health pack, and you could start farming, you know, in and around the point. And it was really useful there. But then they just closed that entrance for some reason, and it just made things so much more awkward. Now you have to go up the steps if you want to go on the right hand side, or you have to go all the way to the left in that weird, awkward turnaround thing, which is completely exposed. You only have two little columns that you can hide behind. They just made it even more awkward than what it was before. At least before you had 3 options on how to approach the point. Now there's really just only 2, which is not that great. And then when it comes to Hanamura, I absolutely love Hanamura. So it's just, I don't know, I definitely fall in that category of people that don't really have a problem with 2CP, but I can understand the frustration because obviously if you fall in a team where they have no idea how to work together and how to hold a point, you're just gonna get rolled on, and it's just gonna be really unfortunate. And so the last thing that they say is, we'll continue to try solutions for both the game mode and the maps. It's definitely something that's on the top of mind for us. There just aren't any silver bullet solutions, which is nice. And then someone else then later on said, and their name is Disvalence, and they said, has the team ever considered splitting the maps into 3 capture points? I get the feeling that the frustration is from how quantized the capture progression is, making it very all or nothing compared to something more continuous like payload maps. And they said that yes, they've actually tried it, and the scope of work to do it properly is the equivalent of rebuilding all the maps, which makes sense, of course, because they're built only for 2 points, not 3. It's not a minor redo or work level of effort. It's almost like building a new map from scratch, which I wouldn't really say almost. I would probably agree to say that it is, because of the way they made the maps. When you look at 2CP maps, there's no in between that you could say, oh, we can make this point B. Not really. All of them actually just end up having just that point A and point B. So if we were to add a third point, it would have to be a totally new thing entirely. And that's it for today. There was a little bit on a hacker who decided to say that they were unjustly banned and whatnot, and Jeff was very much on the hard edge, telling him a goodbye. It was quite enjoyable, but really other than that, there's still some other things, at least at the time of recording. There's nothing else to cover, but if there will be any more anyway, I will definitely be making another video on that. If you liked the content, please press the like button. I would be very appreciative of that. And if you would like to know when I upload next, feel free to subscribe, and do remember to press the bell icon, because otherwise it won't actually notify you every time I upload, and I only upload weekly, so you might want to click that bell just so you know whenever it is that I do upload the videos. Otherwise, if you want to join the Discord, there's a link below, and there's also a link to both my Twitter, Twitch, and DLive as well for when I do stream. And in the meantime, I hope you have a lovely rest of the day. Bye!